I wanted to be a drummer when I grew up, but I was told I couldn't do both. I've worked with many musicians for many years, and what I've learned is becoming an established musician is tough, financially and emotionally. It's weird. Normally when you spend 5, 10, 15, 30 years getting okay at something, you land a good job and the money finds you. Many musicians have to go out and find the money on a weekly basis by creating opportunities, bands, gigs, events, recording their music, and then selling it, which costs money first. There's one thing we know for sure about musicians. Money is not the driver. When I began playing drums at the age of 10, a few years ago, money wasn't even a thought. It was a fun hobby and I enjoyed the challenge, and I still enjoy the challenge. But as I grow up into an adult, bills needed to be paid, apparently. So nevertheless, I wanted to keep playing drums or be involved in the music industry sector somehow. So that's what I did. I found ways or created ways to make money from music so I could pay the bills. I make an income from playing drums on stage, recording drums in a studio, and teaching a bunch of wonderful kids how to eventually do the same. Many musicians, including myself, proudly beg for money. As a busker, we ring up booking agencies or venue owners and ask to be on their stages, and in most cases, they call the shots on payment terms. You may not be aware that when you go and see a band play, they are not getting paid that night. The venue's getting paid that night. In most cases, it takes weeks or even months before the musician's paid for the work they have delivered. Many of you have heard of musicians being paid in exposure. That's not payment. If you look up the word exposure, you'll see that it means lack of food and shelter. However, if you leverage the exposure creatively, it can actually pay you more than what the invoice price could have potentially been. Bad business models in the music education sector is an age-old problem, and it turns many great musicians towards a more stable but a more soul-sucking backup plan. The plan B, the JOB, just over broke. Journey of boredom. Get a haircut, get a real job. There is a story of a concert violinist named Joshua Bell, who is busking in a busy subway where people would normally pay hundreds or even thousands to see Joshua perform. They pay no attention and therefore no money. And I believe if people don't pay, they don't pay attention. Perhaps the more they pay, the more attention they pay. His experiment was a deliberate experiment, and it supports my talk today. Musicians run the best, worst businesses. Maybe musicians like Joshua could conduct the experiment again, or maybe for real, but try a little bit of innovation. What if he had used this, a QR poster? Scan the QR code and tips or payments could be made. You could download the artist's back catalogue, CDs, and really get to know the artist. QR codes have been around for far longer than you could imagine. They're about 20 years before YouTube. QR codes are a really nice way to connect product to consumer. I've been using QR codes since 2013, way before they became cool. By the way, for those of you who did not tip me at the beginning of my show, here's my code. Go ahead, I'll wait. Just kidding. If you did, you would have got this. Getting back to my point. Some musicians have been changing the game by creating innovative ways to do business and even make money. Musicians are predominantly red or right brain, creative, admin, meh. That's the other side, that's the blue side. Being a creative musician outside of their instrument of choice is where the magic happens. Not only for their own income, but for other organisations as well. My friend Michael Schack from Belgium is a musician who was approached by a gas cylinder company. Where do you find that synergy? Well, he put triggers on the gas cylinders to play them. But the reason this company approached a drummer is because their app that they created detected levels of a gas cylinder when the gas cylinder was hit. What a wonderful partnership between technology and music. The technology has a solid business model, but it needed to get people's attention, which the musician can provide for money. Music is a great way, and almost the only way, of getting attention. Another great example of a career pivot is my dear friend Mark Shulman, the go-to touring guy, touring drummer for Stevie Nicks, Cher, Foreigner, Simple Minds, and has just spent the last 15 years on tour with Pink, with countless arena shows. 200 shows here in Australia alone. Mark has moved his focus towards his keynote speaking product, where he shares rockstar stories of positivity, gratitude, and action with the power of a drum set. These are a couple of demonstrations of a synergy of musical and non-musical creating new innovation. These opportunities come via hard work, folks, not luck. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle is an important quote. And the second I saw that, I related to that so much because I know so many musicians that are good at being musicians, but the hustle's not quite up there. Another important quote or a common quote that we hear as musicians, or that we say as musicians, is, "Hey, mum or dad, significant other, can I borrow 50 or 100 to put fuel in the car because I haven't been paid yet?" My hope is by sharing these ideas with you, no one needs to give up on their dreams or musical talents, because innovation and creativity can turn the worst business into the best one, but you need to work for it. Folks, my roadmap that I use with business owners and musicians to help support them in being a little bit more creative, I call it my TED Venn diagram. Each of these overlapping segments are used to conceive innovation and new ideas to help business owners stay in the game. Let's take a look at the first segment. My favorite, education. Many musicians can make money from teaching music. The problem here is the music educators are musicians. Well, hopefully all of them. But what I actually mean here is musicians, as we know, are not business. Money is not the driver. When you have 20, 30, maybe even 80 students a week, you need to have your systems in check so you can sustain that level of income. That level of income would be $40 a lesson times 80, 40 weeks of the school year. Do your calculations. It's an okay income. There are many studies that prove that music education in young kids is amazing. It's not up for discussion. You can see so many talks on the importance of this. Who wouldn't want to teach a superpower like music to a younger generation? In my book, The Rhythm of Music, I list the benefits of learning an instrument such as social, academic, and neurological. Academical is a new word. We're going to celebrate that word. What if learning music was even more engaging? What if it was different? What if you taught in a creative way? Because we're creative. It's not just what you teach, it's how you teach it. Here is one of my popular learning tools that I use for many of my young students. The most important word in a young child's name, in a young child's world, is their name. They like to see it on the board, Star of the Week. It's important. They like to know how to write their name when they're young. This example gives them the opportunity to play their name as a drummer. So here is my name. TEDx. So when you have a four-letter name, it could be quite simple. Some of it's tricky, some of it's hard. Luck of the draw. Let's look at the next segment, design. There is an enormous industry for music-related fashion and design. Many people like music. More people like music than actually play music, luckily, and may like to have something that resembles music in their home, from a desk lamp to an entire swimming pool. My parents actually have a swimming pool in their backyard that resembles a drum. Let's look at the next segment, technology. Now, for comparison, let's have a listen to something by Beethoven and then something composed using modern technology. Pretty epic, as you would expect from Beethoven. That's not exactly Beethoven, though. What you just heard was machine learning and artificial intelligence doing the best it can at being Beethoven. That was Beethoven's 10th symphony, which was an incomplete sketch found in 1827 after he left us, and has been recreated 200 years later by AI, artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence, putting the art in, you get it. Music technology examples are endless. Records, cassettes, CDs, streaming platform, and now music that literally writes itself. My friends, technology is changing the game for the music industry faster than you can say. Technology is helping music be more accessible than ever before. Being able to create and to share globally through streaming platforms is standard practice. Although not as profitable per CD sale for the artist, streaming services have far more reach when marketed creatively, with less to no distribution costs. Perhaps you need a part for your instrument. You can just print one. Or maybe design something that sounds better or easier to play. You could create something unique for an individual or create something substantial for an entire industry, where you'll get paid directly in proportion to the problems that we solve for others. What problems can you solve? Now, let's get crazy. Let's get experimental. Let's synergize. Let's look at music business ideas that combine two segments together, design and technology. But first, a quick musical interlude. Don't forget about my hat. So normally, a drum set is a scary thing for a parent. Yeah. So when you're learning how to play drums, like, oh, Mum and Dad, I need a drum set. Like, maybe. It's a barrier. The sound, the noise, the volume, the size. It's a barrier. There are things that you can do to fix this. So with headphones on, sounds nice and clean. You can take that to the next level. There's a lot of cool things you can do.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit. Get up! When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, get up! You're gonna see some serious shit.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Genius, billionaire, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Drums are fun, folks. Drums are fun. Thank you. Thank you. So what about education and design? Imagine designing a teaching program that writes itself based on the learning style of a student, using machine learning, a program that molds a set of actions based on the student's abilities, a resource that listens to the student and their abilities and sets the path accordingly. Or designing a complete new way of educating, anything that gets better results. Maybe play with AI, AR, VR. These are all ideas that are mostly in the market already. Now, finally, let's look at education technology. Education technology has come so far. The world's largest how-to guide is technology. It teaches us how to do things. How to clean a car, how to get your children to do your dishes, or even their own. Music lessons on YouTube, how to play drums, guitar, or how to play electric triangle. The good thing about YouTube or any pre-recorded lesson is anyone can make a teaching video. And the bad thing is anyone can create a teaching video. The problem I see with some of these videos is the student could be so far off, we don't know. The pre-recorded educator would say, that's great, well done, now let's move on. The student could be knuckle deep for all we know, we just don't know. I've been guilty of this probably, but I have online teaching videos that have been downloaded in 74 countries around the world. I don't know where my students are at in that process. Remote or Zoom lessons became a big thing in the past. And I've seen so many teachers sadly remove themselves because they couldn't manage an online teaching business model. A sad example of losing a great educator because of poorly managed or untapped business systems. The teacher struggled at being resourceful, then gave up. The teacher struggled, then gave up. What is that teaching the kids? Over the last 15 years, I've collected data through independent research, surveys, focus groups, which has helped me map out some pretty serious concerns with the music education space. And as a result of these studies, I'm working with a group of experts to design some software to help music educators with enrolments, cancellations, payments. The feature of the platform is payments. You would have thought that would be an obvious one, because I know and they know they need some support here. Simply writing an invoice and some reminders is not enough. And here is how I know. A survey I conducted, the National Music Education Survey, alluded to 22.4% of music educators are still owed money for lessons they have already provided that they're not likely to get. That's a quarter of invoices being laughed away by the parent or ultimately the educator for not chasing it. But remember, money's not the driver. Sorry, landlord, I can't pay rent. Money's not the driver. It's okay. I'd like to end this talk with 2 points. The first one lies in the center of this diagram. What would happen if technology, education, and design were all brought together as one business model from the start? I know of plenty of examples, but I want to challenge you to visualize what your organization would look like with a combination of all three of these elements. I just checked. I thought I held up 2. 3. Why am I challenging you to do this, particularly if you're not a musician? And that brings me to my final point, and really the point of my talk. Is your career, is your business, is your income as good as it gets, or is it at risk? If you or your business needs you to front up with a creative pivot, can you? Because for most of us, and even some musicians, cannot create or innovate a new idea to keep the cash flowing or the passion alive. And I also hope that these examples are, in the true spirit of TED, ideas worth spreading. For anyone that is struggling to evolve in any form of business, channel the musician within and get creative, or collaborate with a musician, because I believe that when technology, education, and design come together, it can turn the worst business into the best business. Thank you.